Awesome. So here we go. Today is March 23rd, 2021. I am here with, oh, I'm so sorry. How do you pronounce your name again?
Aditta, Riha.
Adita Riha. Okay, cool. That's what I thought. I was just double checking. Cool. Yeah. So we're here with Adita Riha, and we're going to be talking about her experience with MFOS. Thank you so much for being a part of this project. We really look forward to hearing your experiences. If you maybe just want to start with your date and like place of birth, some of like your background, like what your home life was like as a kid growing up,
Mhm.
those kinds of things, just to get a
Okay.
little bit more about you.
Yeah, of course. My name is Aditta Riha. I'm currently 24 years old. I was born and raised in Orlando, Florida. Both my parents are actually from Bangladesh, so I'm a Bangladeshi American. Um, Literally been raised in like Pine Hills of Orlando. So a lot of my experience and my passion comes from just my community alone. Um, It's a predominantly Black community, a lot of Caribbean people for sure. And honestly, just living here alone just kind of changed me and who I am. Um, and I would say just growing up in my household, like I said, I'm Bengali, so that also specifies that I'm Muslim or from a Muslim family. So my childhood was, I would say, resource wise, everything was there for sure. Like, I had a house to live in, I had two parents. I had those things, but I would say in terms of like growing up was a bit hard in an Asian household and Muslim household because everything was limited because I'm a girl. So a lot of things I wanted to do, I wasn't allowed to do because I'm a girl. So that really upset me because I had I was trying to discover who I was at an early age. And anytime I wanted to do anything, it was like, hey, no, you can't do that because you're a Muslim girl. You can't be going out doing this. So it was a lot of that and a lot of patriarchal society type thing going on. So women didn't have say, you couldn't make choices for yourself, and you were kind of like, I felt like I was a puppet my whole life up until I went to college. Like, whatever your mom and dad told you to do is what you have to do, and if you don't do it, then they're not gonna like help you with whatever the case is. And that's how I kind of felt growing up. So I was very irked all the time like in my childhood. But now as an adult, I see how much it shaped me and how much I appreciate all of it, like all the negativity included. So yeah, my culture is like very different. Everyone cares about, the group. It's not like an individual culture. It's not always about you. It's never about you, actually. It's always about what is everybody going to say and think and feel about you. And that's what you have to be concerned about at all times.
Right.
So that was really hard, kind of being in America and having two parents trying to raise me in America who still have their culture and they still think that way. So trying to like mesh both at the same time, like learning from school, like, okay, this is how American systems work. And then at home, this is how, Bangladeshi, culture works, and trying to put them and integrate them. It was not easy, very difficult, because my parents were kind of like, well, we don't want American culture to like overtake our culture, and you don't even have any culture in you to know who you are as a Bangladeshi person. So it was just a lot of that, trying to figure out like what's appropriate, when is it appropriate, when is it okay to be me, when is it okay to not be me, that sort of thing. So that was hard. And I would say, what else childhood wise, I don't know. I guess I was pretty involved with a lot of different things, just with our culture. Like I feel like I was very immersed in our culture because I had no choice. Um, so yeah, I would say that's about it for my upbringing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's like you're saying, you have like these two opposing cultures
Mhm.
or like systems of being that, you're outside at school doing one and then have to come home and do another. In what ways do you think that kind of influenced your path towards UF? Was there, did your parents like push you extra hard in school, or did you find that like your peers were more of your influence to want to like go to this big university?
So I'm gonna tell you this. My dad said you either learn how to run a gas station or you can go to UF, but you're not going to no other school. And I was like, I can't even go to the community college down the street. No, you go to UF or you don't go at all to any school, or you can go learn how to do this. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, all right. clearly I'm going to try to escape you. Like, so that was kind of sort of what it was. But like for me particularly, I did want to go to UF. That was my dream school to go to. In the state of Florida, at least. Originally, I wanted to go to UCLA. And so, like, I was very shocked that I even got into UF to begin with. I didn't think I was going to get in because I thought you have to have like the most stellar grades, et cetera, et cetera. So from coming from Evans High School, so that's where I graduated from. Um, it was it was a bunch of like a lot of us got to UF through the AIM program. I think they're called the Promise program now. So I was with them, and so that's how I got admitted into UF. But I think I was like one of the only students from Evans High School that wasn't an IB student that got into to UF. So for me, I was like, I felt super accomplished because like, oh wow, like I'm not even an IB student and I got in, so that made me feel good. But no, definitely UF was some place I wanted to go. But of course, my dad being like the extra push, it's like, oh yeah, now I definitely have to go. And in my head at the time, being in high school, I was kind of like, watch me not get into UF and you're going to be so salty and I'm going to go somewhere else. But no, I actually got in and I was like, oh snap, I'm going to UF. Like it is what it is. And so like, of course, my dad was super happy about it. It was great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm sure UF was definitely glad that you were there. Like they value all of their students and alumni.
Right.
Um, so shifting gears a little bit into a bit more of your time at UF. I know we talked a little bit about this earlier, but what are some of the things you wish you would have like known or done as a UF student? I know my time here is coming close to an end, and I feel like there's so many things I haven't touched. But did you experience anything similar to that?
While I was at UF, um, what do I wish I knew?
Like, do you wish you were more involved in anything or like,
Oh, absolutely not. I was extremely involved, actually, like crazily involved. I think it was at some point my sophomore year, I was involved in 7 organizations and I had to like cut off 4 of them because I was like, okay, this is too much. You can't keep up with all of this. So I gave advice to myself, but I also wasn't mentored through Promise as well. And so whenever I mentored students, I always said, pick your top 3. So top 3 meaning something you're a leader in, like you have a leadership position, another thing that you're passionate about, like a hobby, and then something that has to do with the career that you're trying to be in. So have those 3 things at least to be involved in. You can do those 3 things, you'll be pretty set for the most part. At least you have 3 different things. So involvement wasn't, much for me, but I think for me, what I wish I did was, better network with staff members at UF. Like I wish I did better at that because there's so many great people there that I wish I had better relationships with, or even just the students themselves. It's kind of crazy, but now that I've graduated, I actually speak to more of my peers now after graduating than I did while I was actually a student at UF. Crazy enough. Yeah, so all the people that I like, knew of but never really spoke to, I speak to like regularly now as as a graduate. So I'm kind of like, oh, that's crazy. But also something I wish I know now, like I said, that, a lot of us have that, idea that, college is the real world, but it's not. It's way different because we kind of forget that institutions is what makes our lives a bit more convenient. And once you don't have an institution to kind of block you in, it's like a big scary world kind of. And like work is work, so no one really wants to make friends through work because it's like you want to keep things professional. So that's why I kind of feels a bit lonely, and that's about it. But I will say that whoever gets into UF also, I think a lot, I know when I was in college, a lot of my peers, some of them going into my freshman year, some of them transferred elsewhere because UF was a bit a bit harder. It's rigorous for sure. But I would say that if you are in, like if you did get in, that's a big deal. It's a big deal to get into UF. And if you get in, try your best. Like try your best to like, stay in that school and like reap the benefits because there's so many benefits compared to other schools. So I always say if we have all these benefits, take advantage of them, utilize them because they're going to help you in the long run. And yeah, that's what I would leave, people with. But also just to kind of, discover yourself too, like figure out what you like and what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. Because that will help play a part in your career. And I think everything that I went through at UF, thinking, like I said, I thought I was going to be a pediatrician. Then I went into like OT, occupational therapy, and I did that for 3 years. Then it came my last year and I got into like, I was just like, oh, I love nonprofit work. Cause I interned at like PACE Center for girls at Alachua. And that's when I really found out what my passion was, because I love helping. I just didn't know how I wanted to help people. And the nonprofit side really helped me discover this is how I want to help people, not in the medical field. And I more so pursued the medical field for my dad, not because I wanted to. So I was kind of like, the culture was kind of like raising, kind of pressuring me to go in a certain field because, and it makes sense because they want you to make sure that you have money and you're stable and you're financially stable so you can kind of live your best life and take care of all the important things, which is why they kind of push that kind of thing on us. But I was like, hey, dad, like, I just wanted to let you know, like, I get what you're saying. I know you're concerned. I know you care about me for the best and you have great intentions for me, but this is not the path I want to go on. And I think this one is my best path and something that I'm strong in and that I'm passionate in. So I hate to disappoint you. Sorry, but not sorry, but this is the path I'm headed towards. So yeah, it was just so nice to kind of like go with the flow while I was at UF, because a lot of us kind of come with a plan like, hey, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. But realistically, that plan may not be for you. You might have something actually better for you, better suited for you and your needs. And you won't find that out until you kind of go with the flow, kind of see where it leads you to, and to not be so harsh on yourself, because everyone's journey is different. And I think that's another thing that a lot of us at UF do, because we're so competitive and we're all very intelligent at that school. We all have a different journey, we all have a different path, and they're all at different times. So if you do see somebody doing something cool, be happy for them, because yours can look so different than the last person you just saw, that you're just like, man, I want to be just like that. Maybe you have something different and better for you. So just kind of keeping that in mind, that you should never compare yourself to anyone around you while you're in school, because you're different. Everybody's unique. Everybody grew up in a different childhood, upbringing, household, all of that, and it shapes who you are. So things are not the same playing field for everybody. So that's just how I see it.
Right, right. And I'm sure that, you being as successful as you are now, yourself and your family members are quite proud of, the path that you've taken. And I'm sure that's opened up a lot of doors that they didn't necessarily see as being open.
Right.
Do you have any, let me see if I can rephrase this. Are there any influential people that really stick out in your mind from your time at UF?
Actually, yes. Dr. Reeves, he's no longer there. He went back to Michigan, but he was the assistant director for AIM, which is now Promise, like I said. And he was super influential to me my entire time there. And also someone else, which was Justin Pierre. He was also working for the AIM program as well as a coordinator. Those two men have been super influential to me, because anytime I went through like all 4 years, anything I had going on, those are the two men I went to. And they advised me, and they saw me cry in their offices. Like Dr. Reeves specifically doesn't do well with people crying in front of him, because he has like a natural reaction of laughing at them. So like with him, it was like I would cry in front of him and he would just bust out laughing, but like it helped also in the same way. But they've been they've been great rocks to me while I was there. They always kind of told me like, hey, weigh out your pros and cons. Like they would listen to me. They would kind of like navigate me through the right way. So I really do appreciate those two while I was there. And another person who sticks out, although I only had him for one term, it was summer B term of my freshman year. He's still there, I think. His name's Marna Weston. And he was so impactful. Like his presence itself was so impactful. He was super wise, super considerate, super kind, because while I was in his class during that summer, my dad was actually got detained that summer for immigration. So it was just so crazy. Like my whole summer was so crazy. Like 5 of my dad's friends came up to Gainesville and was like, hey, you have to pack all your stuff right now, because you have to go handle this for your dad. And I'm still in school, and I had to like talk to my professors, and Professor Weston was one of them. And he was so great. Like he just kind of like, after he we had to turn in some kind of assignment with a binder, like a portfolio almost kind of, but with essays. And I submitted mine, and he just texted me and he said like the most amazing, impactful words. And I was just like, wow, like I can do it. I know how I just started my, career at UF
Mhm.
is a bit much with my dad's detainment, but he's right. I can do anything and I have good work ethic and have good quality work that I submit. And he told me that. So it was just nice to know that I got confirmation like, hey, you do belong here. So don't let anything, stray you away from UF. So those three definitely impacted me positively for sure.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you had that support system, I'm sure, you know, I'm sure not many people at UF have had to undergo something like that during their,
Mhm.
time here. So the fact that you were able to, reach out to your professors and be like, "Hey, this is what's going on. Can you help me?" Or at least just let me
Yeah.
know that, I belong here and I don't need to leave and
Yeah.
do something else.
It
Um,
was nice, and they still actually contact me on their own till this day. Like, they still text me like, "Hey, how are you? Happy holidays," type thing, and it feels nice even after I've left. It's been like 3, 4 years, and they still reach out to me even after I left college. So it's so nice to kind of have those people at UF. And crazy enough, small world, my African American studies teacher moved here, um, to my town, and he called the place I was working at, which I was working at Evans Community Partnership School, so I was working back on my alma mater. And he calls and he's like, "Hey, I'm trying to start an after school program here at this school." And I'm just like, "What's your name again?" And he was like, "Oh, it's Dr. Adajumo." And I was just like, "You were my professor for African American studies." I was like, "Do you remember me?" He's like, "Yeah, I remember you." And I was like, "Oh, that's like, it's like such a small world and stuff like that." But it's so cool, like how, all your professors at UF kind of play a part in your life, and how, they don't just see you as like, "Oh, you're just a student." It's like, no, like, you're a student and we still have that relationship to keep going even after you leave this, institution.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I know like the MFOS program provides a lot of those like intentional connections as well. Cause
Mhm.
sometimes first generation students might have a hard time reaching out to their professors. That's a relationship they may have never encountered before, or their parents have never encountered before.
Right.
You don't really have anyone to go to get advice for things like that. Um,
Right. And a big shout out to Leslie for sure, because I love Leslie. I don't think anyone understands how much I love Leslie. I think she's a phenomenal woman at UF. I think she tries her best to do good and give back and just really support, anybody that's in the program or even not a part of her program. The way she goes out of her way to help people to make sure they are acquainted with MFOS really blows my mind, because it really shows that she's not there to get paid. She's there to actually do the work and make sure everyone actually, has a chance to be at UF. So she's another big reason, like, she's another person that, like, I really look up to and still communicate with till this day. So I admire her so much.
yes, absolutely. She's probably one of the best faculty that UF has. Um, But now that you're a college graduate, what does being a first generation college like student slash graduate really mean to you? What?
um, hmm. I would say, being a first gen college graduate, I would say on my dad's side, I want to say I'm the first one um to be like a college graduate. So for me, like, that's a big step, because at least, I'm leaving like a legacy down for like my other family members that are younger than me, so they can go pursue college and stuff. Because like I said, me being a woman in college, it's very different for that, Bangladeshi culture, because women don't often have those opportunities to do stuff like that. So I'm glad that I get to kind of, lead the way, and make sure that, the rest of my cousins and, so on and so forth can, do their thing and, keep that going. On my mom's side, I want to say, I think there's older like cousins than me, so they've already went to college and stuff. But it's just nice to know that, like, me being the like first child and being a female, that I got to get this degree meant a lot. But I think for me, it's different, because after I graduated, things for me were not very smooth, I would say. My last semester at UF, my dad got detained again. Um, and then he got deported the month I graduated. And then after he got deported, I had to move back to Orlando and take care of my mom and brother, and I became the breadwinner. So for me, I was kind of like, I'm so glad that the timing of me graduating happened the way it did, because I graduated and now I can actually go get a real job to take care of my mom and brother. So for me, that meant that I had the ability to take care of my family with this degree, because if I didn't have it, things probably wouldn't look the same, or I probably wouldn't be able to take care of my mom and brother had I not had that degree. Um, Especially from UF, like I said, I think that makes a big, like it kind of shows you like, yeah, you're from UF. And I think that does make it's a big deal to have a degree from UF. So yeah.
Yeah, and you already jumped into part of what my next question was going to be was, in what ways has your degree influenced or like impacted others in your life?
So like I said, I have a FYCS degree, and like I said, right after I graduated, I was looking for a job, of course, been on Indeed.com all day, every day. Couldn't get any like responses from anybody.
Mhm.
But actually went to go visit my alma mater, like I said, Evans. And while I was there, I was actually looking for immigration documents for my dad's case. And while I was there, I still had some connections with, the staff at Evans because I was part of like senior class, council, and like was a part of 6 different other clubs in high school. So like I had a face on campus.
Yeah.
And I went to the school secretary and she was like, I'll be able to help you. But she was like, what are you doing here? And another one of my former teachers was like, hey, what are you doing here? And I told them I'm here for my dad's immigration documents. But I was like, also, FYI, I also need a job because he's deported. I'm taking care of my mom and brother and I need to find a job as soon as possible. And to me, it was like, right time, right place, right everything. It was like God was like, hey, this is what's supposed to happen and take it and run with it. And right then and there, my former teacher, Ms. Bond, she actually walked me over to the principal, had me introduce myself, and kind of gave them a little, an idea of what was happening. And they asked me what my degree was, and I said FYCS, and they're like, you know what? You're in luck because there's actually a position open, an expanded learning coordinator, which is actually under nonprofit side because our high school is not your typical high school. My high school was the first high school in the state of Florida to be a community partnership school. So they provide extra resources just like how UF does with MFAS type thing. They provide like, clothing, food pantry, any services for the parents, hygiene products, anything and everything that you could possibly think of that a student would need while they're in high school or their family might need, they provided that. Wow. And so so Evans, or OCPS rather, Children's Home Society is a nonprofit, Orange Blossom Family Health and UCF all combined together to make this community partnership school happen. So I was employed through Children's Home Society, so a nonprofit. So I was like, wow, to have a degree and use your degree where it needs to be doesn't happen often with everybody. So I was like, I'm so glad that I, get to use my degree for what it's for and really apply it. So I became the expanded learning coordinator at Evans, and I handled after school programs and worked with different, programs and organizations in Central Florida to bring back and, basically develop our students, whether it's personally, career-wise, mentally, whatever that they needed. I wanted to make sure those kids had those resources and those opportunities to, be where they want to be. So I was just so blessed to have that, just how it happened. It just worked out. So it was just nice to have that job. And I've been there for about almost 3 years, actually. Actually got fired, but that was crazy story, but, not really my fault, but, yeah, so that kind of ended there. And, like I said, I think everything just happens by God's plan, and that's what it looks like to me. And I love the work that I did there because I got to share my story while I was at, with CHS, got to kind of speak with like, different donors and kind of let them know how being at Evans kind of impacted me, and then how going to UF impacted me to come back here too. Because while I was in that profession, I would talk to Leslie, I would talk to whoever, and then they would give me the information, and I can just literally just tell the students, hey, MFOS exists. Take advantage of it. Our schools and other neighboring Title I schools don't get these opportunities often and don't know about them. And if you're able to get a free full ride, take advantage of that. That's going to alleviate so much off you and your parents. And if you think you don't have the grades for it, you might not actually know that. I said, you must apply. You have to apply and see where it can possibly take you, because I didn't think I was going to get there and I still got in. So I like that I get to spread those messages and kind of bring awareness about MFOS and, just UF in general about how they operate, and tell the kids that so they, they can take advantage of the resources, because a lot of them do get kind of scared. They're just kind of like, hey, Miss Riha, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get in. I don't know if I have the grades for it. And I'm kind of like, it's way beyond your grades. They look at you holistically.
Mm.
So I was like, if you are a good writer and you got a story to tell, you better tell your story on that personal statement. So they actually get a sense of who you are and what your goals are, because that will actually get you through those doors. So I try to, like, motivate them as much as possible, but I'm glad that, like, I get to spread the word, help people, help kids, and kind of help them kind of get to the next step in their life. Because like I said, being in high school, like, and being grown up in my household, like, I didn't feel like I had all the resources, being that I was first gen. So my parents weren't well aware of how the school systems operated or of the case was. So it was like I always had to do everything for myself and kind of figure out and navigate all alone through it all. So now that I'm an adult, I get to, be that adult that I wanted to see when I was in high school, and be that for the kids there. So that for me was very impactful.
Right, right. And I'm definitely seeing like this theme of kind of like community sharing and like bolstering the other people around you throughout your entire life, you know? You've, like you said, like your family was kind of more like community oriented, and it seems like your high school also gave back to the people around them a lot.
Mhm.
And you mentioned a bunch of different ways that you already give back. But as like a beneficiary of MFOS, how has that shaped or like played into more how you pay it forward to others?
Like back to UF or to just others in general?
Back to UF or to others just in general.
Yeah, it would definitely just be bringing awareness to MFOS and UF. So I get to do those little projects. I even set up a Zoom call between our students and MFOS to give them, more information. So I did like a UF Zoom 101 call, and it was such a great event. I think over 30 students showed up on the Zoom just to find out more information about UF and MFOS. And I was glad that I was able to do that, because even when I was in high school, I didn't know MFOS and UF existed. We used to have a UF Alliance program, but they didn't have enough funds to carry it out after 2012.
Mhm.
So like the same information wasn't available like it once used to be at Evans. So I'm glad that I was able to bring forth that information and help those kids out, because there are other Gators on our campus, but they weren't really aware about MFOS either. So I'm glad that I get to bring that to the kids, because I do want to see more kids from Orlando area, from Evans High School in Jones, and Oak Ridge, and all these different schools where the kids are super talented, but because of the environment that we live in, it may not be, you may not think you can get somewhere because of where you're coming from.
Right.
So I like to, encourage all the kids, like, hey, it doesn't matter where you're coming from, what your background is, you can get wherever you want to get to if you want, but don't let anything stop you, sort of type of thing. So yeah, I like to pay it forward just by like talking about MFOS. However, Leslie, when she does, hey, Adita, da, 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 how can I help you, Leslie? Because I'll do anything for you. Like, I will literally do anything for Leslie if she asks. So I'm glad that I keep in communication with her, because she does pull me in things that I can help out with. She like tied me into UF Giving Back Day and stuff like that to be an ambassador, that sort of thing. She'll be like, hey, can you like contact other schools to see if we can like do like a sit down with them, or bring other alumni so we can kind of, bring awareness. So I like doing those things for the kids. Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, yeah, that's so fantastic. And that's, a very common theme we see with a lot of MFOS students is that they want to
Mhm.
give back and they want to share their experiences and success with others around them, including, their family members, their peers, people in their home
Mhm.
communities and things like that. And I think that really just goes to show like how big of an impact MFOS has, just not only on the students, but all of those students' collective families and friends. So I think that it's just such an amazing thing that happens here. And I hope that it continues for a very, very long time.
I know. Like, even I don't know what you're about to go with next, but like just even how I got my MFOS was like a big story of its own, because it wasn't supposed to happen at all, surprisingly. So when I got into UF, like, everybody started talking about MFOS, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, I got into UF too, but what are you talking about? What is this MFOS thing? And they're like, well, I got a full ride. So I'm seeing a bunch of my peers that got accepted into UF, and I'm like, how come I didn't get it? I feel like I fit in the, criteria.
Yeah.
And so I was too last second about it, and I found out too late, because there was something wrong with my UFL email and stuff like that. So I wasn't getting the same, stuff or communications. And when I finally got a hold of it, when I sent in the document, like, hey, like I'm eligible, sign back the paper and, return it back to us, it was already given out. All 300 full rides were given out. And I was like, man, like, this sucks. Like, this really sucks. And I was like, well, it is what it is. I was like, well, my dad's going to probably have to help me with college and stuff like that besides the loans. And so, got to UF, going through school, whatever the case is. I know for my first summer B term, because I was under AIM, they covered the first summer B term through their program. So I was good to go for that. But like I said, while I was in there during that summer, my dad got detained. Well, my dad always had a series of immigration issues. So it's been an ongoing thing with him. Even back in high school, he got detained for a couple months and whatnot. So like I thought my whole life was going to be over, like, oh man, like I have to start life in Bangladesh type thing. Yeah. So while that happened, my summer B term, he got detained again. Like I had to go back. Literally, I had to be the spokesperson for the lawyer. Like from a young age, since middle school, I always had to get involved with all my parents things with immigration. So I had to understand all those things from a very early age and be the speaker for the both of them in case they didn't understand something, and help them understand how the process works. So, I had to go in there and, being I was 17 at the time. 17, trying to handle immigration stuff while still being at UF. And I had to talk to like my dad's immigration officer and stuff and how to talk him out of it. I was like, hey, I just got into college and you guys just took my dad. Yeah. I need this man because he's the only way I'm even surviving and I need him. I need him around. And I was like, can you guys at least give us like 6 months or something to kind of figure a plan out so I'm not just left here, don't know what to do, because he wasn't expecting that either. They were nice enough to let him go, actually. After I kind of talked to them and try to, persuade them, and they were just like, you know what, we'll help you out. So they let him go, and then he got detained again in fall. He got detained again in fall for like about 2.5 months. And during that time, I was relentless. I was like, I never been to Bangladesh a day of my life. I don't know what it's like living there. It's a third world country. I'm not used to that lifestyle. I don't know what to expect. I'm already like horrified by the culture itself. And I was like, you guys want me? I can't do that. And I was like, I'm not going to leave behind, me going to school because that's something I really wanted to do. I definitely want to get my degree from this school. So I was writing letters to financial aid as much as I could. I was trying to find different ways to get their attention. And long and behold, December, literally my dad got released somewhere in December and during winter break. And he got released miraculously too, through like Obama's administration. And 2 days later, I get a call and it's from MFAS, I think Leslie. And she calls and she's like, hey, so this never really happens, but for some reason we got these extra donors and we're able to fund 50 more students for a full ride. And that happened like the first time ever in MFAS history. Yeah. And I was like, you're not playing with me, right? Because this all seems too good to be true. Like, I was like, wow, my dad just got released 2 days ago and now I'm getting a full ride. So now I don't have to worry about going, like, who's going to pay for school and if I'm going to be in debt. It was like a big blessing that just happened and it just worked out so well. And that's why I was just like, that's just God. That's miraculous. Like, you can't just make stuff up like that randomly. So I was kind of like, this is so crazy. Like, I was like, I'm going to take full advantage of this. And I'm going to make the best out of it. Despite how much UF gets on my nerve and upsets me and stresses me out, I was like, I'm going to make the best out of it. So for me, it was just kind of like another opportunity to pursue my dreams and to do what I wanted to do. So I was so blessed and grateful to get MFAS the way that all happened. And that just kind of like rocked I still won't forget that day because it's so crazy to me. Like, that whole experience that day of that phone call is something I'll never forget. So yeah, that was a big story with that one. So kind of stayed with the school, whatever. And like I said, last semester, before I graduated, dad got detained again, whatever the case is. But just like my whole experience and journey at UF, it just kind of showed me how strong I was and how grateful and blessed I was with everything that I've received, because it could have been worse. I could just be paying out of pocket. I could be thousands of dollars in debt, but I wasn't. And so for me, I was just kind of like, if MFAS didn't exist, I don't know what I would do, like, for sure. I could literally cry about it because that's how much it meant to me. So yeah, that's where I'll leave it at.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, this program has the opportunity to change lives, and it does do that. Leslie does such a great job of just running it and making sure that every single person that is, comes into the MFOS program is taken care of. They really do look out for the students. And I was just, this is kind of a little bit of a jump back, but I was wondering, do you think that like your exposure to these legal processes at such a young age kind of helped dictate your career path into what you ended up achieving a degree in at all?
Being involved with immigration matters, I definitely knew I didn't want to be in law because of it. I was just like, this is a lot. But I was like, but it's still just helping other people. But with all the immigration things that I dealt with, it really like shed light on how serious immigration is in general. And I don't think a lot of people are aware of how it works because it's not streamlined. Immigration isn't streamlined in America, unfortunately. Things change every time with the president. So things are not consistent. So people are kind of like, well, I thought this and I thought that. And it's like, no, things change every single time when there's a new president. So rules always change, policies always change all the time. But with all those experience that I've had with immigration, it did actually drive me to give out my first scholarship my first year after graduating. I gave out a $500 scholarship to a student who was an immigrant. And it was called, the scholarship's name was Immigrant Made because I'm made by immigrants and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. So I just want to make sure that, whatever high school students going into college and, they're going through immigration issues, that they had some form of help. So just, MF was kind of not even kind of, they inspired me to do that with my high school. So I did give out that scholarship because I just wanted them to have the opportunity or just to make their lives easier, whether they use it for school or not, whether they use it to pay bills or help their family. Do what you have to do with that money to make sure you're taken care of. Because I understand it's really hard when you're not sure if you're going to be in this country and you're going to be able to live here or not. It's always like a teeter-totter type thing, like, hey, like I'm really not sure, and it could change any possible day. So it's like always living under, like you're living stressed basically and always unsure. So it's kind of scary. Right. So for sure, but that's as far as it would go to. But I definitely didn't want to get involved with law.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, fair. Law sounds terrible anyways. So this may not necessarily completely apply to you, but perhaps for, being a young, every freshman college student is naive. Young freshmen in college coming into this program, maybe you didn't fully realize the impact that, this MFOS or a scholarship like MFOS, the impact of that until you graduated. What does it kind of mean to you at this point of your life? How has your perception of like what it could do for you changed?
Like what MFOS can do for me?
Yes, like post-graduation.
Well, I would say post-graduation, there's so much networks and connections you do have even after. We do have a Facebook page where we're all connected on there. So like if you do need anything, or need any resources or any networking, you can just be like, hey, I'm looking for a job, or hey, I need this. Can someone help me out? And it's like your network from MFOS will literally start commenting like, hey, you can go here, or you can talk to this person, that sort of thing, and just kind of stay connected. So I do like that we have that kind of family. Most of my peers are MFOS scholars. So it's really nice to kind of have that connection with everybody.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, well, cool. This is my last question, and then we'll do a little thing at the end. So, and you can take as much time as you need to think about this. Sum up your experience with MFOS at the University in Florida in one word.
Repeat the question again.
Could you just sum up your experience with MFOS at UF in one word?
Grateful.
Grateful. And why is that?
Grateful for the experiences, the opportunity that they gave me to be able to still attend UF with everything that I had going on in my personal life. Grateful for the connections I've made, the staff that genuinely cared about me. Grateful for the experiences like even through academics, I had the best academic experience at UF. Like, yes, it was rigorous,
Mm.
but it was well worth it because even after I attempted grad school twice at UCF and Barry, and I was not at all pleased with their curriculum and how they operated as a school. I was like, wow, UF was really that school. I was like, now that I got introduced to like high quality, like, education, I was like, wow, like it really does show where I came from and where I got the degree from. Cause any other school that I tried, I was kind of like, yeah, UF is
Yeah.
way better than this. Um, and grateful for the rigor for sure. I feel like if they didn't pressure us or test us the way they did and challenge us, we wouldn't be as capable as we are today. When you leave that school, you're capable of handling literally anything. um and the experiences, like I said, being a part of UF, just their organizations, I think also shaped me a lot, as well. I was like the president of like Caribbean Student Association, not even Caribbean, and I had that opportunity. Was their secretary at some point. I was a secretary for NAACP for like 2 years. Been a part of like many different organizations, got to mentor even for 2 years, other incoming freshmen through, AIM program. So all those different leadership positions really shaped me into who I am and also helped me kind of figure out that I'm actually pretty good leader. I didn't realize that. I was always somebody who was kind of timid and scared, didn't really have a lot of confidence in myself, didn't think I can even lead a group. But once I got to UF, it's like I really questioned myself. And it was like people like Dr. Reeves was just like, hey, Adita, if you won't know until you try it. So try it. You might get the position and you'll also get to experience what it feels like to have those positions. So try it out and you'll actually learn some stuff about yourself. So just those pushes, like the push that I got to pursue something that I wasn't comfortable with, a quote that really stood out with me my entire journey at UF was, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that really stuck with me the entire journey because everything there at that school, I wasn't comfortable with, I wasn't aware of, didn't know much. And once I was just like, you know what, just do it anyways. And it helped me kind of, figure out who I was. I figured out that I can manage like a 20 people organization as a president. Like I could do that. I know how to run an event now. I got to throw my first conference at UF through Caribbean Student Association. And that was like 1,000+ students coming to UF that I had to handle. I didn't think I was capable of all those things, but UF showed me that I was. Those experiences showed me that I was, and I'm grateful for all of that because all those experiences shaped me to who I am today, which is why I was able to even make such a big impact in my profession. Like I knew how to throw events. I knew how to do X, Y, and Z. So like I was very good at that. I was called a magical unicorn at work because I was just able to do everything. Anything I was handed, I did it and I did it well and I did it great. And so like I'll always give credit to UF because if I didn't go there, if I didn't go through what I did, then I wouldn't be where I am today and I wouldn't be who I am today. So I'm always grateful. Grateful will always be the word for my whole journey at UF.
Wow. And it's so amazing to hear stories like yours. And I'm also very grateful that you're here, sharing these experiences with us and that we get to kind of understand what, these programs really mean to the people who are in them and who have been a part of them. I just wanted to open the floor up and ask if there's anything else you wanted to add or discuss, anything that comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
About your MFOS experience, about your UF experience, about postgraduate, pre-undergrad, any of those kinds of things.
Not that I can think of, unless you have questions you want to ask me. I don't mind answering anything.
Well, I'm actually out of questions, but cool. Yeah. Again, thank you so much for this. Your wisdom it's going to be very fun to transcribe this later. I can tell you that for sure.
Really? I don't know. I saw the little video that like she sent and I think I was like, oh, he's like on point. And I was like, I'm not like that. I'm like a little goofy child, but like, like I can still try to make it work some way, somehow. Yeah, that sort of thing. I don't know. Like, I don't know. UF is a great school. I feel like it definitely ticked me off a lot. Definitely those parking spots for sure. Those parking spots, man, they get you.
I gotta
But
week.
oh yeah. Oh, and just even okay, so I would also add on, you have really helped me figure out how independent I really am. I didn't realize I was very independent. And I think for me, it was meaningful because, like I said, I grew up in a culture where women are dependent on men. Women can't have a say. Women can't do X, Y, and Z. And I got to do everything that I was basically told I was not allowed to do. Um, so that was a very freeing experience. I felt like I had freedom. I felt like I got to really discover who I am, to not depend on any person, not on my parents. I didn't have to depend on them at all the entire time, which was great. I was just like, wow, it feels really great to just be able to take care of myself. And I was only able to do that through MFOS as well. Because they taught me how to strategize with the money I got. It's like, okay, when you get the money, what do you do with it? And a lot of people would take the money and do crazy things with it and not really take care of the actual important things. So for me, that taught me how to be responsible. It's like, okay, once your classes got paid off, what do you do after that? I may try pay the rent up until the next, MFOS got released again, or, I got the refund again. All right, once your rent is paid off, what do you pay off next? What's the next most important thing? Well, you clearly don't need a car because the bus takes you everywhere and you got friends who have cars. You don't really need that.
Right.
All right, food. Food is important to sustain yourself. Let's take care of those things. So it really just getting those things and learning how to budget, how to take care of myself, and even just survive sometimes off even a couple bucks also showed me a lot. I was like, wow, like this is very different, but it really shows you what you're capable of. Never cooked a meal a day of my life because my mom was always home cooking meals. Was cooking meals at UF. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like all the things that I never did, like I had to do at UF. And it just kind of showed me like, wow, like you're capable of doing anything on your own and by yourself, and you don't need anybody. But like I said, all that stuff only happened because of MFOS. Like I can't not brag about anything about MFOS because like they play a part in everything that I went through or shaped to what I was able to go through. So yeah, so for that one, I was kind of like, yeah, this is definitely a great thing to have at any school, just because a lot of us that received MFOS, we do come from underprivileged households or, areas that Title I areas basically, and have, these crazy, households that we kind of come from sometimes that they're not so pleasant and they're kind of negative sometimes. So it's just nice to kind of, have an escape from that with the opportunity of MFOS, that we're allowed to leave, that we got the opportunity to leave the place that, kind of holds us back and finally get to like flourish and be like an outstanding person at the end of the day. And I think that's so important with MFOS and kind of spreading that word, just because it's like, the fact that we're like the only school in Florida doing this, it just kind of blows my mind, because it's like every school should be doing this. Because there would be so many of us first gen students who are, low income, underprivileged, that would, really could transform the world if they had the opportunity, like, MFOS gave to everybody. So I think that's super duper important in this country, particularly, especially with the climate that we're in the environment. Yeah, I think that would be a great big deal for every school to kind of take on this, sort of, system. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And education is such a gateway, especially higher education. I Okay, so would you say that your MFOS through MFOS you were able to have like more of a traditional college experience than you would have had if MFOS had not existed? Or do you not even feel like you had a traditional college experience? I know you experienced many different things that a majority of college students, especially the ones that do attend UF, through their parents paying all of their tuition or something like that.
Mhm.
Do you feel that you were able to kind of blend in with the crowd more, or were you proud to stand out in that sense?
I was proud to stand out as an MFOS. I know from my other peers, there was always negativity with their experiences, because it's like, oh, you got a full ride because you're poor and that's how you got into UF. And some peers at UF kind of did feel that way about us. Like, oh, you're only here because we need to fill a quota or whatever the case is. And if that is the case, oh, well, we filled your quota and we're living our best lives. So I'm not mad if you feel kind of, upset about that. But that doesn't mean that we're not intelligent, and that doesn't mean we're not, capable of doing whatever it is that anyone else can. It's just that Some people have better resources, some people don't. And we want to make sure those resources are still there for people who are talented but can't get to those people that are privileged. And I think that's what the most important thing is, because it's like I said, there's extremely talented people in the underprivileged areas. It's just that they don't have the resource to get to the next step to be the great person that they're destined to be. At the end of the day, it's just resource. It's always money. It's always going to be money. Money's always going to be the reason why you can go forward or you can't go forward.
Right. Right. Well, thank you so much. Again, this interview has been so enlightening in many different ways, and it will definitely provide a lot of great insight for future generations and stuff to come. Is there anything you want to add really quickly before we stop the recording?
No, I think that's it.